All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracted Nightly Sports Call. This is our GMC tweet of the night, and here you can look at this from NFL Rookie Watch. Top performing QBs from the 2022 draft. I mean, you see where Pickett is, 3. But the last pick of the draft, Brock Purdy, those are pretty good numbers. Maybe he has a better supporting cast. He obviously does. But if you look at those guys, who would you want as your quarterback right now? Any one of them, Chris?
Purdy. I think Purdy's completely the real deal. I guess people here are going to just be compulsively unable to acknowledge that Brock Purdy is actually good and that while he plays in a system, it's just like Pickett. Pickett plays in a bad system, but his bad plays make the bad system worse. Purdy is a good player in a good system whose good plays make the good system look better and vice versa. Then I would take Sam Howell, and maybe that's a case here that people want to look more closely at. Physically, the guy comped to Baker Mayfield. In terms of a lot of the way he played the game, he was reminiscent of Mayfield. You know what he has in Washington for the Commanders, Richie? A real offensive coordinator in the form of Eric Bieniemy. And I thought Howell played a whale of a game that they easily could have and maybe should have won against the Eagles if their coach had the guts to go for 2 late in that thing when they scored a touchdown. So I think Pickett is 3rd on that list of guys I would want, only because Ritter has been completely atrocious in Atlanta. But Purdy looks like a legitimate star, and Howell looks like a guy very much on the rise.
Hey, flip-flop Kenny Pickett. I know this is hypotheticals here, and Tomlin doesn't like to use hypotheticals, but flip-flop Purdy and Pickett. Do you think Pickett is as successful as Purdy in that San Fran offense?
No.
And do you think
No, I
Purdy
don't.
has a better record with the Steelers?
I think Purdy has better numbers than Pickett does if he's on the Steelers. I just don't think there's a question. I'll keep coming back to this. People can say I'm a broken record, but I'm also right. Purdy has a better pocket sense by far. Purdy has stood in there and made throws. Pickett hasn't. And I think Pickett would get jittery and clean pockets in San Francisco and self-destruct plays from the start. The thing about this pocket awareness and this bailing too early thing that I have to keep repeating, he did it at Pitt. It was on all of his scouting reports coming into the draft that year. It was one of the major and most repeated negatives for Kenny Pickett. He leaves clean pockets too early. He drifts into pressure. He's not disciplined in that way. And that has not changed since he has gotten to the Steelers.
All right, let's go out to Bill in Penn Hills. How you doing, Bill?
Good. I just wanted to say the Steelers are never going to win with Kenny Pickett in there. He's just not a quarterback.
You know, I mean, is it too early, Chris? I mean, I hear a lot of this. I mean, the last couple days, no matter where I go, people want to ask me about the Steelers, and they've given up on Kenny Pickett and this offense. I mean, everyone's given up on Matt Canada since that first week now this year, probably last year, but there was some hope there in the preseason. But now it's Kenny Pickett. He's played 15 games.
I mean, every time somebody in the future says, hey, so-and-so looks good this preseason, I have really high hopes, I'm just going to say Kenny Pickett to them and hope that that's enough to kind of make them stop doing that. Matt Canada has more or less seen his offense fail with 3 different quarterbacks, Ben, Mitch Trubisky, and now Pickett. So I think we do have a decent book on what Matt Canada is or isn't. I think he's a college coordinator at best, and that might even be stretching it at this point. Kenny Pickett has 17 games under his belt, Richie, and the numbers are not impressive. And more troublingly, he was supposed to have had this whole offseason to make this his team, to make this his offense, to take major steps in year 2. He has regressed more or less in every conceivable way. So if people aren't completely out on him yet, fine, you can be more optimistic. But I think we've absolutely seen enough to form an almost complete opinion on him, and it isn't a good one.
I just need to see a few more games to see if there is something. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you have to give it time. I do. Let's go out to Matt in Florida. How you doing, Matt?
Well, hey, Chris Mueller, you want evidence? Give me a break. Look at Josh Allen's first 16 games and compare his stats with Kenny Pickett's first 16 games.
Well, there's
Josh Allen
Kenny
is
Pickett
one.
fan.
Hold on, time out. Hold on. Josh Allen is arguably the most physically gifted player ever to play the position. That's one thing. Kenny Pickett is not even close to that. That's one. Josh Allen also fundamentally altered his throwing motion. It is a well-documented story that I believe it was Aaron Rodgers' brother who basically fixed a major and fundamental issue with the way Josh Allen threw the ball that almost overnight turned his accuracy into a major strength after it had been a big weakness. So that was a raw, unpolished player who got exactly the right coaching and has made the most of his considerable athletic ability. Kenny Pickett was supposed to be a finished product, and the finished product isn't good. So they are not remotely comparable.
Maybe better coaching might help solve this problem. I wasn't saying that he was going to be a elite quarterback. I thought that he could be a good, above average, maybe a 10-year quarterback, win some games around the right personnel. Who knows what can happen? But like I said, I need to see a little bit more time. I'm still focused on Matt Canada right now. I think that's the bigger issue.
But why? Like, why though? Why is it? Because I think people are focused on Matt Canada not just because he is doing a bad job, but because I think there is still a subset of people in town who just don't want to start looking at what they've actually seen from Kenny Pickett in a vacuum. Like, it's a convenient deflection to say Matt Canada isn't running a good offense when you don't want to admit that Kenny Pickett isn't doing a good job at quarterback, just independent of what Matt Canada calls.
It's not that I don't want to admit it. I'm just not going to admit it yet. We got to take a break. Back in a couple of minutes.